So the way I've described our experience and our process so far this week might paint the picture that thinking is a choice that we make. And I want to be really clear that this is not a conscious choice at all for humans. It is something that we've been habitually doing from a very, very young age, and so it's become an ingrained pattern, a way of being in the world, a way of experiencing the world. And that pattern is so ingrained that most people don't even recognize that it's happening. We're in a unique position in that we've become conscious of that insanity, and from that position of consciousness we're able to make some choices and start to change the way we interact with thought. But the choices that we make are very much about how we live our lives, how we spend our time, and how much energy and effort we dedicate to this practice that we're engaged in. And through that practice, our relationship with thought starts to change. It's not just a matter of waking up one day and thinking, well, I might stop thinking, because otherwise many people, even those not interested in meditation at all, would have made that choice because the thoughts they experience are so difficult for them. So rather than thinking about it as a choice, if we recognize this habit as an addiction, then it's much easier to understand what's going on and why we keep falling into the same pits over and over again. Of course, an addiction is any behaviour that we do in a repetitive manner, even when we don't want to do it, or even when it causes physical, emotional, psychological problems for us. We continue to do that behaviour. And we all know the obvious addictions of smoking, drinking, drugs, TV, shopping, gambling. But what about our primary addiction to playing with, believing, taking seriously the fleeting words and pictures that fly through our consciousness on a daily basis? I see this as the main addiction for human beings, out of which all our other addictions stem. Now, you think about anything that you've had some kind of addiction to, which could be something fairly harmless, like eating too much chocolate, or it could be something really serious. But if you look underneath that habit, you will see that there was a repetitive pattern of thinking that was driving the behaviour, that was encouraging you along. And if you weren't lost in those thoughts, if you weren't addicted to thinking, then those thoughts would have had no power over you. As Byron Katie says really eloquently, I woke up and drinking quit me, smoking quit me, overeating quit me. She didn't actively do anything, but when she stopped believing her thoughts, then those habits dropped away because there was nothing to sustain them. So why do I describe thinking as an addiction? Well, firstly, because we do it even though it's painful, it often serves no purpose, and we do it without being consciously aware that we're doing it. So by the time we realize that it's happened, it's already happened, it's done. And because of this repetitive nature and the unconscious nature of our relationship with thought, I like to think of it as an addiction, because we just keep coming back to it even when we recognize that it's not good for us, not healthy. Now, I don't want to paint the picture or give the impression that thought is bad or evil, or we shouldn't ever think about things or make use of thought. What I'm trying to highlight is the problematic nature of our compulsive thinking. So it's a bit like, eating is good, it's healthy, it's necessary. And compulsive eating is really unhealthy and can be dangerous, be really bad for us. And thinking is the same. Thinking when it's necessary, when it's helpful, when it's positive, is, like eating good amounts of good food. And when we just can't stop, and we keep coming back, and we keep coming back at the expense of living our life consciously, then it's a serious problem. The other helpful thing about considering this as an addiction is that it opens up some new ways to approach breaking the habit. And that's what we're going to explore as we continue this mini course tomorrow. I'll take a few minutes now to do today's written exercise, take some reflection time, and I'll be back next session with some practices that you can use to undermine the power of this habitual way of living.